Welcome to So You Think You're Awake. On today's show, see if you can figure out what these symbols mean before I tell you later in the show. My favorite one, Carla has a dream where a wolf is riding on the back of a huge white owl. And when the owl lands, the wolf jumps off and devours the owl. What is that about? In another dream, Maggie's daughter walks around the house naked after watching TV. But she's uncomfortable with her being pregnant, but not with being naked. What's that about? Hello and welcome to So You Think You're Awake, the show about life transformation through dream interpretation. I'm Michael Sheridan. On this show, through analysing your dreams, I reveal your potential and the obstacles you need to overcome. I'm very specific. I tell you the magic power you have, what makes you magnificent, and the bumps in life that are holding you back. These bumps are not in the way, they are the way. So I say that all the time at the start of the show, but really what I mean is your life would be a failure if it didn't show you that you have issues. If you don't know you have issues, how can you work on them? And that's why we're here. We're here to work on our issues, figure out what they are. And if you have an absolutely blissful life all the way through and never have any issue, then you're not going to learn anything about yourself, because you're never going to say to yourself, I need to work on this because I know it's a big issue. So that's why these things happen to us in our lives. And that's what this show is about, helping you discover what the issues are for you, what you need to work on, and how to work on them. I'm going to say more about the how in upcoming shows, because really what I've focused on, I realized until now, is telling you what the issue is, and then occasionally saying, hey, I'm running a course, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. But I don't do that often. Like the last time I ran a course was so one last year and one this year. So it's not that frequent. But everything is designed to nudge you to raise your vibration. That's the whole point of it. That's why we end up with issues. Like that ex that owns half the town that seems very powerful really isn't that powerful at all. It's an illusion. They only have the power that you give them, and you are free from him whenever you realize that. Stop giving the power or take it back, and then rise above the situation. Now, I realize that's easy for me to say, but that's ultimately what you are going to do. I'm saying this because it's about a conversation I had with somebody else earlier today. But it's true for every aspect of our lives. Sometimes, though, we're not able to just let go of something and rise above it, and we end up taking baby steps, really, really small steps away. And that's not because the situation needs those baby steps. It's because we need those baby steps. We're not able to take it in one step. But you can. You always can. Think back to times in your life when you've been able to just like have a paradigm shift and just say, right, I've had this problem for X number of years. It's no longer going to be a problem again. And it isn't. And we've all done it. So you've got it. But we do hold ourselves back. That's the thing we do. Anyway, to get your dream analysed on my show, go to dream-analysis.com, fill in the form there, and I'll take it from there. I love looking at the dreams that I get, I really do, and I always try to pick dreams that are interesting. I have a really interesting dream about a wolf riding on an owl's back that I'm going to be doing on the show today, and you're going to be in shock to see what happens with the wolf and the owl. So that's coming up later. I did promise that I would send out the prophetic dream presentation that I did last week. So if you are interested in that, go to dream-analysis.com, download my dictionary, and you will get it. It's definitely coming this Wednesday. I think I might have mistakenly said last week. So this Wednesday, you're going to get the prophetic presentation that I did for Ann Tucker. And it'll be interesting. Some people like that kind of stuff, which is what I realized. I did not know that's the case. The more gory, the more cringy, the better for some. Not me, but that's the way it is. We're all different. So anyway, now let's do some dreams. Oh, by the way, if you download my dictionary, you can try interpret your own dreams. Even if I don't do them on the show, and I do try to do every dream I get, but if I don't do it on the show, you will be able to look up the symbol dictionary. There's thousands of symbols in there, all from real dreams, many of them from dreams you've heard me do. And you'll be able to say, okay, I've got this, this, and this, and you'll be able to figure out pieces of your dream. Of course, it's better if you know how to do all the magic, and it's better if you send a dream in and let me do it for you, but there you go. So let's do some dreams. First one's very simple. The dreamer says, I was at a party and someone handed us red band uniform tops. Mine was dirty. I was wondering what to wear with it, white or black pants. Okay, so this is a really good one. So music in dreams is about channeling. I mean, it's good in the how punchy it is for such a short dream. But music is about channeling, so the dreamer has the ability to channel. Music comes from the spirit world. Anybody who's had a near-death experience, they talk about hearing this music, harmonious music, as they travel around. So that's what the music is about. And so the dreamer has that ability to channel. And then the red band uniform says, think about what you do with a red band. You're on display. That's why you're dressed up. Red is the color for passion. So it's saying that you need to be passionate and really out front with your channeling. Like draw attention to yourself, just like a band does. There's no such thing as a quiet band. We're all going to look and listen. We're all going to hear them, whether we want to or not. So you need to be this way with your channeling, really upfront and out there. Maybe quirky in some way or controversial in some way. But that's what your guides want you to do. Now, what about the other little symbols in there? You say it was dirty. So this means that you've been angry with your guides. I don't know why, but you've been angry with your guides and you need to make up. You said that the pants that you were going to wear were either going to be black or white. So red and black is about anger. So that matches the dirty uniform. Why does a dirty uniform mean that? Well, it means that because it shows a lack of respect. Like rather than have something in a very safe place put away and looked after, but in this case on display, looked after because you're going to use it and put it on display. This is dirty. It shows a lack of respect, or I don't really care. I've heard what you said and I'm not happy, or there's some reason I'm not happy. Watch, I'm not going to show up in a clean uniform. So that's why that represents anger. But the black and red always represents anger. So you have a choice between anger and hope and faith and joy at what life can bring you. And that's what the red and white combination is. Red and white is probably the best combination color there is. It's really about living your life to the fullest with the wind in your sails, like regardless of what life throws at you. I've seen that in dreams for people who really have been down on their luck and life has really hurt them. And the red and white color in a dream really picks them up. So anyway, that's your dream. You need to be controversial. You need to be quirky or in some way draw attention to yourself and really get your channeling out there, because that's why you're here. And stop being angry with your guides. That doesn't do you any good. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. This one is, so everybody uses a pseudonym, or not everybody, most people. And the pseudonym here is NJ for life. It's spelt out, but that phonetically, that's what it means. So anyway, the dreamer says, note, I am Nigerian and still reside here. I've not left my country before, but has always been my dream to be in the USA. I lost an opportunity 11 years ago. He's 41. So 11 years ago when I won the US visa lottery in 2008. I did all I could, but got denied by the consulate office in Lagos. So that's weird. I would have thought when she won that lottery, because I know people in Ireland who won the lottery, and they all moved to America. Anyway, they're all back in Ireland now, but they still did it. Since then, I lost hope and have not attempted, even though the times are terrible. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Here's the dream. And the background is important for this dream. So NJ for Life says, I saw myself at the very near end of the top of the mountain with two teenage boys. We had finished the climbing and found ourselves at the very top. We paused for a while, looked down at everything beneath us and began discussions, reflecting on how we got to the top. So this numbers in dreams are always important. And so the two teenage boys, the two is the first important one. The two is about your age. So it's saying age 2. This is when the dream is about. And the teenage boys are there. So you would be like, okay, is it teenage time or is it me as a 2-year-old? The teenage boys are there because of a youthful enthusiasm for life as a teenager, and or at least these two teenagers. And so that's like, there's nothing you can't overcome, etc., whatever it is. Anyway, that's what your dream wants you to have. So you maybe had that for a period in your teenage years. But age 2 is when you picked up the philosophy that life is difficult, which sounds kind of backwards, doesn't it? But you would think a 2-year-old thinks everything's cool, but Anyway, so things were tough. Times were tough then. You say, suddenly while keeping my eyes, while we kept talking, my eyesight opened into an inner vision like a TV screen. I saw how steep, rocky, and difficult it was during our climb up. So that means you have two things. You have the ability to be clairvoyant. That's what the inner vision is about. So clairvoyance works where you get either still images, or an image that may change and then the change is significant, or you get a movie like you do. You got a movie, which is easier because then they're usually less symbolic. They're more about this is how things are. So you'll get movies about what's gone on in somebody's life, something that's really important for the reading that you're going to give them. So you've got that ability. I don't know whether you use it or not, but in the dream, you're using it to look back and you're looking at how difficult things were and what you had to overcome. So the dream then, of course, is asking you to switch that around and start looking at, instead looking back at life and the difficulty that you've gone through, looking at life as it is now and what you can do to live it more fully and embrace it and so on. You say it was, time passed. It was time to climb down. I caution the boys and begin the climb down. Halfway down was a gentle sloping smooth surface. We had to slide down using an improvised sheet metal sledge. They went first and I watched from the mountain. The velocity was so much that they couldn't stop at the bottom of the mountain. It took them about 100 yards away and then back to the mountain because it was out of control, and started sliding up the mountain again, halfway to where I was, but then came to a stop as it lost energy and slid back down to the foot of the mountain. It was now my turn, but with experience, I slid down, stopped at the bottom of the mountain, not having the jamboree experience the two teenage boys had. So what is that about? Well, first of all, the metal sled is about control. Usually things made out of metal in dreams, they're kind of rigid and strong and so on, and unbending. So can symbolize being controlling and also having like a male approach, controlling approach, an unbalanced male approach, let's say, to life. So there's nothing wrong with male side if you're using it in balance, of course. So that's what it says. But then you even, like, you're sliding down the mountain, which should be fun and probably is for the boys. You don't say that. But they lose control of it. And so they overshoot, but they're not able to control where they're going, and they end up coming back and halfway up the mountain. So this would imply that you've put a lot of energy into dealing with things in the past, but it hasn't gotten you away from what you wanted to get you away from. It on the surface, it would look like it would, and then instead it ends up bringing you back to nearly as bad a place as you started from. But with you, what happens in the dream is you then take over, or it's your turn, and you manage to do it successfully, just slide down and get off at the right place. So it's saying, because of the experiences you've already had in life, you have learned. And when you look back, realize, really, that's what the dream is about. Realize that you have learned. Now, you give me another part of what you thought was the same dream, but it's a new dream. And in this scene, you say, you're in a house, my house, with a wife and two teenage boys. So again, we got the two again because this is important, and we have the teenagers. So this is the same. It happened to be our children, but they weren't my biological children. Doing my best to father them, pay college, university for them in a foreign country, we lived as a family. So again, this is like, okay, imagine you did make it to America, because that's where you are in this dream, and the difficulty you're still going to have. And in this dream, you say, someone who was with us made a remark of how the boys enjoy opportunities that my wife and I never had, because the boys had the best by American standards. I replied, the boys ain't seen nothing yet. I have bigger plans for my wife and I. I opened the door and left the room. I love the end of that dream. So anyway, first dream is about the exact same thing here. It's about wishing that you had better opportunities and you could give your children the opportunities that you didn't have. And that's going to be reality today. But what I like about the dream is that you say, like you're told they have better opportunities than you, and you're saying, well, you haven't seen anything yet, and you open the door and leave the rooms. It's the opening the door and leaving. That's the best part, because that's about creating an opportunity, and it's for you and your wife. So you're saying, we are going to do even better than this for ourselves. Like, the boys have everything, and we're going to do even better for ourselves. So I like that attitude. That's the intention of the dreams, to say, look how resourceful you are. Look what you've overcome. You've gone through the most difficult things, and you've learned from it and are a better person for that. So very, very positive dream. Really, really like it. And thank you for sharing it. Is there anything I left out of there? I don't think so. I do like, in one dream, you already made it to America, but it's still difficult because, it's just, it kind of gives you what you wanted and shows you, look, would it necessarily be any different? And I remember talking to my sister one time, and she wanted to sell her house in Dublin, where houses are really, really expensive, and move to Cork and buy a house there. And she was going to be able to sell her house and buy another house and pay for it all in cash and have no mortgage and have lots of money left over. And that was going to solve her financial problems. And I channeled on it for her, and I said, it's not going to solve your financial problems. You're going to be in the exact same amount of debt. Whatever amount of debt you're in now, you're going to be in down there. And it's because financial stress for my sister at the time is what makes her have to deal with life. And that's why we come here. And so sure enough, that happened. Instead of it being the fairy tale that she thought it would be, they tried to get a house built. The builder kind of screwed them over. That didn't happen. They lost a lot of money on that. A lot of time went past. A few years went past. They still didn't have a house. They were renting the whole time. In the end, by the time they got a house built of their own, they ended up with a mortgage that was a little bit more than the one they had in Dublin. Exactly what she was trying to avoid. Very disappointing to her. But the point is, we often try to escape things. And what made me think of this is you saying, I want to get out of Nigeria and go to America. We often try to escape things. But really what we need to do is deal with the issue that we picked that place for and picked that predicament for, because we pick the things that hit us in life. We pick those obstacles. Deal with those issues, then move. Because if you move beforehand, the physical location is not going to solve your life lessons. It can't, and it doesn't. It would be absolutely a waste of your life if it wasn't able to show you that you have issues to work on, which is like what I said at the start. So anyway, thank you for the dream. And I've been carrying that one for a while. I know you sent it in a little while ago. Here's one from Maggie. She says, I had a box with vegetables and I was slicing carrots. There was also a golden watch in the box. That doesn't seem to make sense, does it? I took the watch out of the box and I set it on the table. My daughter's friend was standing on my right, and she told me with a very serious and demanding voice that I will be a grandma because she's pregnant. I agreed, but I felt uncomfortable. In the meantime, my daughter finished watching TV and walked naked towards us, and the dream ended. Okay, so seems like a bizarre dream, doesn't it? They all do. So basically, you're clairvoyant. That's what the TV is about. You get and that's why I put these dreams together. So you get the images, just like NJ. You brought that gift with you from the womb. That's what the box represents, being in the womb. And you can find spaces, tiny, tiny room, like a cloakroom in a house would indicate that too. And preparing ingredients for something is also about the start of life or the womb, like putting ingredients together and cooking it in the oven, baking a bun in the oven, even the bun in the oven. That's what it's about. But you've been told this before, and you're uncomfortable with the idea that now is the time for you to let people see this side of you. And that's what the uncomfortableness is about. And the pregnancy in the dream is about, this is coming. This is the time now. This aspect is about to be born. You already know that you're clairvoyant, so it's not that that's going to change. But you stepping out and letting people see you as you are. And that's what the nakedness in the dream is about too. So people are now going to see that you're a clairvoyant channel. Not going to keep it hidden any longer. Another really short one from Maggie. She says, I was at the beach, it was nighttime, but there were lots of people enjoying their time like it was daytime. I've never witnessed that. Every time I got close to the water, a huge wave would lift me up and throw me in the air and back on the sand. It felt good to be thrown in the air, so I kept going back and the waves kept throwing me back on the beach. And she calls it waves. So, okay. What is this about? We already know a little bit about you from your last dream. So even though you don't know where your spiritual approach will take you, and we know your spiritual approach includes being a clairvoyant channel, you can still enjoy life. And that's what people enjoying life in the dark or at nighttime is about. They don't know where life's going to take them, but they're still having fun. and you have nothing to fear. And we know that because you go into the water represents spirituality, so it's into the spiritual field, and you end up getting tossed up into the air and back onto the sand, but you're enjoying it. That's the whole point of it. You've nothing to fear. There's no threats, even though you don't know where it's going to take you. So two of those dreams really, really match up well. So here's another dream. And this is the one I was talking about with the owl and the wolf. And this is from Carla. And Carla, thank you for sending in the dream. Maggie, thank you for sending in your dreams too. Carla says, I had this dream about 10 years ago, but it is still as fresh in my mind as if I had dreamt it last night. I am a professional pet sitter and get paid to stay in people's homes with their pets while they are away. I had this particular dream while staying at a client's house, and the dream included that house and their dogs. So here's the dream. And you'll know why she remembers it. This is unbelievable. In the dream, I had just let their 3 dogs out into the fenced-in backyard and was monitoring the situation from the back deck. I heard what I thought was a hawk's call from overhead. I'm a huge raptor lover, so I'm usually pretty good at recognizing them by their calls. Instead of a hawk, though, I saw a huge bird circling overhead, way too big to be a hawk or even an eagle. The bird was solid white, and as it continued circling, I could see it was an owl. I could also see that there was a white wolf riding on the back of this owl. I stood there mesmerized as the owl's lazy circles brought it closer and closer till it landed on the ground right in front of me. Here's the bit. As soon as it landed, the wolf jumped off, turned around, and immediately started devouring the owl. I was stunned by how nonchalant the whole thing felt. There was no growling or gnashing of teeth from the wolf, and the owl seemed to be a willing participant in its own demise. I couldn't understand what was going on, and I felt helpless. As soon as the wolf finished with the owl, it turned and started walking in the direction of the dogs, which is when I woke up screaming out one of the dogs' names. It is still to this day the most vivid dream I have ever had, but no idea what it meant. So Donna, thank you for sharing this one. Donna's the next person. This is Carla. Carla, thank you for sharing this one. And you're going to find out what it means here. But I can totally understand why you remember this dream 10 years later. It would haunt you, I imagine. So owls, I've seen huge owls. I lived in Alaska for a while, and it's the biggest bird I've ever seen was owls. I'm really surprised because we have owls in Ireland, and they don't get to that size, but wow, they're amazingly big. So what is it about? If we look back over your dream, you letting 3 dogs out into the fenced backyard. So part of it is the reality for you because you're pet sitting, and these are the dogs, and this is the house, and so on. So that's okay. And then the bird is white and it's an owl. So owls, in your case, represent clairvoyance. Why do they represent that? Because they have huge eyes. And anything that draws reference to the eyes in a dream is about, or attention to the eyes is about clairvoyance. And owls have an ability to see in the dark. Also, wolves are connected with howling at the moon. Again, it means the same thing because the moon represents the ability to see in the dark or having a psychic ability. It's not the same thing. So a psychic ability is where you get intuition about things, and clairvoyance is where you get images. So the owl represents the connection and getting the images. And you're very nonchalant about this. So the owl lands with the wolf on it. It's all about channeling. If you fly with a guide in a dream, then you're able to channel. And of course, the wolf flying with the owl, they're both represent guides in your dream. So it says you have the ability to channel. And you let the wolf devour the owl. Now, you're saying, I didn't let it. It's your dream. You say it's a white wolf and a white owl. So it means that you're very critical of your clairvoyant channeling. You don't like it. You couldn't like it and have this happen in your dream. So it's like, I want that gone. I am happy to let this aspect of me die. And that's why the owl is a willing participant, because you're a willing participant in letting your clairvoyant ability die. Now you can't kill it, but in the dream, that's what you're trying to say. This is what I want to happen. And so now you finally know 10 years later. So I want to know from you, Carla, and I didn't get a time to write to you before the show because I just looked at these dreams today. Have you ever done anything with that clairvoyant ability? And do you know you have the ability? How long have you known you have the ability? And what is it about it that at least 10 years ago made you not like it? And maybe today you've gotten over that and you don't have an issue with it. But anyway, that's what your dream is about. So very happy to finally tell you what was in that. I like how the bird is circling overhead as well. And there's also the sense of, it's a bit of a threat, because it's such a big bird. So all that comes into it as well. We can look at the other parts as well, like letting the dogs out and so on. But I think there's enough because it's such an old dream. Even the part about you not wanting that clairvoyant ability, that might already be dealt with for you, might already be gone. So I don't have time to squeeze another dream in. So I'm just going to say Donna did send a dream in. And in the dream, she talks about being told to stay in a house. And she agrees that she's going to stay in a house till Monday because somebody's ill and there'll be nobody there to look after them. So Donna, please do write in. Let me know what's going on in your life that is making you symbolically want to leave the house. Because it comes up over and over again in your dream. There's a guy in the dream, a black man seated at a table, and you say, I'm leaving tomorrow. And he says, no, you can't, remember. And then you remember, oh, yeah, that's right. And you say, I'm leaving Sunday. And he says, no, I still won't be back. And eventually you go, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm going to stay till Monday. So they're really having to push you to sticking to what you agreed to. So what is it you want to avoid? What's going on in life that you want to avoid? You also mentioned in this dream that you're talking to Ronald Reagan. Now that symbolizes spiritual leadership. So you have a spiritual leadership ability. That's really cool. Very happy to see that in your dream. And you say he's dressed in a suit and tie. I love how you say he has the presence of being a leader or recruiter. And you're talking to people in a church. You're talking to groups of people in another part of the dream. So we know you're already a leader from that, talking to the groups, and they're all listening to you. Groups is enough for us. And then they're connected with a church. So we know it's a spiritual ability that you have. So that all fits, but I just love how all these things come together. So is there part of that, the reason I'm saying this a little bit, is there something about you stepping up your game and being the spiritual leader that you are that is putting you off and making you not want to hang around?